Hi, it's Mr. Andersen, and this is a mini lesson on asking questions, level 3 experimental questions. The icon for questions is a question mark, but we're going to get real specific with the question that we're answering. This is going to lead to some kind of an experiment that will help us better understand a phenomena. So you always want to make sure you define what's the phenomena that we're trying to better understand. Next thing you'll do is you'll come up with an experimental question. An experimental question will guide your experiment, and it'll also be guided by your hypothesis. A hypothesis is going to be made up of essentially two things. It's a prediction. In other words, what do you think is going to happen as we investigate this experimental question? But it also is going to have some explanatory power, an explanation. And so this leads to the evidence that we're going to collect. And so the experiment will be based on both our question and our hypothesis. And then a good experimental question is going to have these two parts, an independent variable and a dependent variable. So after watching this video, you should be able to come up with good experimental questions and hypotheses for something like Alka-Seltzer powered rockets or how to improve a do-it-yourself speaker. I'm going to show you how to develop this with planning an experiment related to tomatoes, and then you'll have a chance to do the same thing with a famous science experiment. So let me clean this up and then we'll get started. Okay, so the first thing you want to do when we're ever trying to think about what evidence are we going to gather is we want to decide on what's the phenomena. So the phenomena that I'm interested in investigating is how different things might affect plant growth. So in other words, these tomatoes didn't used to be this big, they used to be much smaller, but how did they get so big? So a lot of the time you want to, first of all, define the phenomena because that will guide your experiment. So let me write down what the phenomena is. So the phenomena that I'm going to think about is tomato plant growth. If we had control over this, so if we could change different things, what things might affect growth in tomatoes? And so now that we've defined the phenomena, the next thing that I want to come up with is I want to come up with a good experimental question. So let me write down a question. Okay, so the experimental question I came up with is, how does the amount of light affect plant growth in tomato plants? When you're coming up with an experimental question, you always want something that I could change. So I couldn't see, for example, how does plant growth affect light? I have to be able to have something that I could change. And in a greenhouse, I could change the amount of light. Now, once I've done that, I have to come up with a hypothesis. A hypothesis has these two things, both prediction and explanation. So let me write it out and then show you the different parts of that. Okay, so my hypothesis is that an increase in light will cause an increase in plant growth because light will provide more daily energy. And so a good hypothesis is not just a guess. A good hypothesis is going to have a prediction. And so you can see here is my prediction. My prediction is that an increase in light will cause an increase in plant growth, but I want to have an explanation as well. So that's the key thing to a hypothesis. It has some explanatory power. And so that's the second part of my hypothesis. So when you write a hypothesis, again, it always has two things. It has an answer to the question, and then it also has some explanation. That's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to explain the phenomena. Now, once I've done that, I have to get more specific and I have to figure out, okay, what evidence am I actually going to gather? And so in an experiment, you'll have variables. The two things that we're going to focus on are going to be the independent variable. That's the one thing that I will change, and the dependent variable. So let me write down a sample independent and dependent variable, and then I'll tell you why cause is important in determining which of these is independent and dependent. Okay, so when you're developing independent and dependent variable, the cause will sit right between the two. And so what you're going to do is change the independent variable, and then you're going to measure how that causes change in the dependent variable. That's really what dependent means. It's dependent upon what happens in the independent variable. And so if you're ever messed up, you could try like turning this around. Are you changing growth in plants and seeing how that affects in light? No. So it's going to be, the cause is going to be in this direction. Also, when you're coming up with an independent variable, you want to have things that you really can measure. So I said amount of light in hours per day, and then I said growth in tomato plants centimeters per week. I was originally thinking, man, these are heavy, so it'd be fun to get the mass of tomatoes and how they change. But then I was thinking, if I'm taking the mass throughout this experiment, I'll probably kill the tomatoes, but I put it on the scale. So you want to be realistic in the independent and dependent variable. So now I have a pretty good experimental question, hypotheses, and then the controlled, or rather the independent and dependent variables. This is for this phenomena of plant growth. What I'm going to do is clean this up, and then I'm going to give you a chance to do it on your own. Okay, for the next phenomena, we're going to use an old science experiment. I have a piece of wood here, I've got some water in the bottom, and what I'm going to do is light the candle on top. So I'm just going to light the candle up top. And then once that gets going, I'm going to take this beaker and I'm going to invert it on top. And I'll put a video next to this so you can see what it looks like. And so the big thing you can see is that the water now goes up in the beaker. So I'll put a video over here so you can see that. And so the first thing we want to do is write down, okay, what's the phenomena that we're trying to understand? Okay, so the phenomena that we're trying to understand is why the water goes into the beaker when the candle is extinguished. When I talk to students about this, they always come up with a couple of ideas. One idea could be that the oxygen is consumed by the candle, and so that creates a vacuum and the water comes up. And then another idea is that it heats up the air, which moves out, and then as it cools off, then the water comes back in. So what I have to come up with is an experimental question that kind of helps me understand the phenomena. And so let me write one down, and then we'll talk about why it might be a good experimental question. Okay, so the question I came up with is, how does the number of candles affect the height of water in the beaker? And so the reason I chose that is, if it's just oxygen that's being consumed, if we increase the number of candles, it's still going to consume all that oxygen, so the level should be about the same. But if heat has something to do with it, then we might get some kind of a change. And so where am I coming up with that experimental question? It's really guided by my hypothesis. So let me write down my hypothesis. Okay, so my hypothesis is that an increase in candles will increase the height because it will generate more heat. And so you can see in my hypothesis is this top portion of my hypothesis is going to be my prediction, and then my explanation is going to be at the bottom. So now that we have a hypothesis, an experimental question, the next thing we want to do is identify our independent and dependent variables. So let me do that. Okay, so the evidence that I would gather in this experiment, I would change the number of candles that are under the beaker, so from 1 to 2 to 3, and then I would just measure how that causes change in the height of water in the beaker, and I might measure that in just centimeters. And so what we've learned in this video is how to develop experimental questions. Remember, they have to be tied to things that I can actually change that might affect something else. And then how to develop a good hypothesis, which will always have a prediction and an explanation. So now that we've done this on the candle, you could do this, and I'll put some slides down below, with the Alka-Seltzer powered rocket, or how to improve a do-it-yourself speaker. But those are experimental questions, and I hope that was helpful.